All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MongoDB stream. I'm here today with a very, very special guest. I always have special guests, but this one's extra special. I'm
Thanks.
here with Yulia Genkina, who is a curriculum engineer, and we are going to have a live AMA style stream today. So I wanted to put this on. I wanted to not only learn about curriculum engineering in general, but also learn more about Yulia. So to start off, let's introduce yourself before I keep talking. So go ahead, Yulia.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Yulia. I'm a curriculum engineer at MongoDB, which means that I'm an engineer and I do education. So uh, that's broadly speaking. And yeah, before that, I was a public school teacher in New York City.
Oh,
So, and before that, I lived in Russia. So that was also fun. But
sweet.
that's broadly speaking about me.
Sweet. Well, we'll get into way more details soon, hopefully. So let me just double check this. Everything looks good. All right, cool. So, curriculum engineering, or actually, let's start a little bit more with you. And let's start about the backstory about why this is happening. So, I started at MongoDB in February. And as part of most new hire training, we go through, some online training, but at the very end, you do like this big bang finalized training, like bam, you're a MongoDB employee at the very end. And that is how I actually first met Yulia. She was my instructor for new hire training. And all I could remember was as she's packing all of this material into 2 days, which I think before was 5 days, right? It was now packed into 2 days, so they're now trying to teach us everything we should probably know about MongoDB as a MongoDB employee and engineer. And Yulia just captured my attention because she was super easygoing, not in your face. I don't know if you've ever had an instructor who is like, I'm better than you, and let me just get you through and get this class ahead. Let me just go through the material and let you go. I did not get that at all from Yulia, and that was a really big help in me understanding what I needed to know. So I always kept Yulia in the back of my head because I knew if I ever did a kind of series like this where I talked to more employees across MongoDB, I knew that Yulia was going to be the first person I wanted to talk to. So thank you so much I know you're super busy, everybody's busy, and I'm really thankful that you are spending some time to share a little bit more about you and your career. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. This is very, very humbling. Appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Jay Fudo. Hey, Jamie. Welcome. So let's start with who is Yulia?
Mm.
What is I guess let's start with I guess the background or history exposure to tech that you've had, if any, or even
Ooh.
your childhood.
Yeah, that's tricky. So, I grew up in Russia, and Russian math education is hardcore and very cool. So I look to the side occasionally. I'm sorry, my cat demands to be played with, and I'm just like,
Okay, maybe we get a sneak peek of your
yeah,
cat.
if she comes by for sure. Um, yeah, and I was like an average C student. It was great. I did not like math. Did not want to do tech stuff, and went to college to study history of religion.
Hmm.
So, and then suddenly ended up wanting to. I ended up getting a scholarship to do math, to study math in America.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I like math now. Let's do this.
That's how it works.
um, yeah, yeah. So it's mostly, and I did actually I ended up liking math and technology and computers, um, and and then long story short, got a master's in education, got a fellowship in teaching computer science. Specifically, ended up teaching at a wonderful high school in New York City that has like the best computer science program that I've ever seen outside of Russia. And no, just honestly, really an amazing crew of teachers. And I would have stayed there forever, but then I didn't. And now I'm at MongoDB teaching to a broader audience.
Sweet. So a lot of the history that you've explained says that you've you were really interested in education. Can you talk more about that and how you came to combine your love of education for teaching computer science specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a pretty bad student, like skipping school, getting in trouble, getting into fights, like all the good stuff. And I think I really got to appreciate just like the value of a good educator and education in general when I got to college, and when me, like, despite having a pretty like bad grades and everything like that in Russia in school, and being like an average C student, suddenly in America I was like pretty good at math relative, I guess, to the rest of this. I don't know. There are definitely other students that were better at math than me, but it wasn't like hard for me. So
Hmm.
I started thinking about like, why is that the case? Um, it's not, to me, I didn't feel like I'm extremely like smart or intelligent, and I felt like, but I'm still getting these concepts that people around me consider so like just outrageously out there, like working with computers, working with math. And I was just like, it doesn't have to be this difficult. You don't have to make it so difficult. You can do it in such an easier, like, there's just better ways, easier ways to do it. I just felt like people shouldn't feel stupid because they can't, because they're not being taught right. So I felt like we're missing out as a society on just fantastic talent because they're just not being, things are not being explained to them in a language that they understand, and breaking it down. There's just certain assumptions that are always being made about learners, and that's why they end up feeling the way they do, and just like completely abandoning a whole range of possibilities that they can have by just like being taught right.
I absolutely love the fact that you bring that up. I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, especially in tech. There's a lot of, obviously, there's a lot of imposter syndrome that goes around, but especially when you're just starting out, you almost feel like, am I ever going to get this? Am I just so dumb that I don't understand this and everybody else does? And I think that's something important to remember is that maybe the materials or the people that you're learning from just don't jive with the way that you learn. Maybe the examples that are being taught to you or the ones that you're reading from the tutorial you're currently going through just doesn't make sense to you. And so it's better for you to find something else that does work with you, and or find another person that speaks your learning language per se.
Exactly. Yeah, there's very few cases where people actually are unable to grasp a concept that are um, they physically just cannot. Most of the people in the world, they just need it broken down to them in a way that works for them. Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in that, and I like to, just sort of support people if I can and when I can.
That's awesome. No, before we get into curriculum engineering, were there any other careers that you considered before you were like, all right, this is the one? Or did you dabble in anything before finding that this is the path for you?
Well, honestly, I'm a immigrant in the U.S., right? Like, you have to go with what is going to bring the most mm, bring the most use, so make you look the most useful to the country.
Of course, of course.
But yeah, I mean, I was I did perform a little bit. I was always into the arts a lot. So my sort of, I volunteer with the circus occasionally here in New York, and yeah, just stuff. I play instruments, dance at home when nobody's watching. But sometimes just go, when it's not the end of the world, I go and dance, tango or swing dancing or something like that, just stuff that's fun like that for me.
That's awesome. We might get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. What
Yeah.
career-wise, I did work in technical theater, so lights and sound in a
Oh,
theater, and backstagey stuff. I did that. Still
sweet.
do that a little bit.
That's always super interesting. I always like to go on those backstage tours whenever I travel, and so those are always interesting. That's cool.
Hmm.
And like, it's JBrains is somebody in the chat. Another good point they made about starting out and finding someone that jives with how you learn is it's always another challenge, is not knowing where to start. So I think that's the mark of a good educator or instructor is helping them find that starting point or knowing individual students' starting points because they may not always be the same.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Sweet. So that's Yulia. What is curriculum engineering? I'll be honest with you. When I first started at MongoDB, this was the first company that I worked for that is larger than maybe like 30 people. And so the number of titles that I knew were very limited. So coming into MongoDB, there's almost a department for everything. So can you explain to me and to everyone else that may be watching, what is curriculum engineering?
So that's actually an excellent question because when I was looking for a job in tech, I was applying for software engineering jobs because that's what I knew. There was some like adjacent to software engineering job, like solutions architect or something like that, and I was like, writing code, I can do that. Let me try that. And then I saw this opening at MongoDB, and it was a perfect description of me. It's like education and tech, and you have to have experience teaching and stuff. And I was like, let me apply. Let's see what happens. And I was rooting for this specific one because then I could still do what I love. And the big plus of MongoDB was like, it's open source. The content is free. It's open for everybody. So it's truly democratizing education. And I mean, obviously, online learning doesn't necessarily work for everybody in the world and all of that. We talked about it already. But I can do my best at least, and have this direct focus. Um, so I've never heard of that position before, but now on LinkedIn, I get like every other message that I get from recruiters is for a curriculum engineer position in one company or another. Because of the pandemic, everybody's switching to online learning, and they need people to create content that works and that drives like learners to use their platform for learning.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but MongoDB has been invested in education for much longer than that, and they've had a MongoDB University and such. So I actually joined. There was already there's a team that manages like the platform aspect of things and making sure that we have like all the features that we want to have. So I'm on the content side of things. I make sure that the content I create content basically like from scratch. Obviously, I collaborate with engineering teams that make the tools and build the infrastructures that I teach about and that everybody else on my team teaches about. But yeah, we just we figure, hey, we want people to enjoy using MongoDB, and we want to show like what's good and how it works and how to get the best out of it, and maybe get people to just try it out. What I really like about it is that I don't feel like I'm selling anything. Like I'm not in a sales department. I'm just like, this thing works. Look how cool it is. Like, let me show you. And um, yeah, otherwise, it's a much less stressful job than teaching public school. A much more supportive job than teaching public school. In public school, the timelines and I mean, I loved teaching in public school, and I would go there if if it wasn't like a risk for my health being under such pressure.
Of course.
Yeah, but here I have a team. We work with the design team. We have a production team. There's so much support around making this content really accessible to learners, and it does reach so many people. And you know, that's what I do. So if you want like a breakdown of how a course gets created, I can do that too. But I don't know if you want that.
Absolutely. That actually perfectly segues into another question we had, which is so you've answered curriculum engineering in general, and you did start to go into what do you do specifically at MongoDB. So you've mentioned you create courses from scratch. You start, you do work with other departments and other teams, cross collaborate in terms of, I guess, creating that content, or at least maybe creating the outline of the curriculum. But yes, please go more into detail about like what exactly do you do? What are your typical daily tasks or things like that?
Yeah. Okay. So the tasks, they kind of vary based on where the course is at in terms of um, production or whatever. So
Mm.
if the course is a non-existing entity, then start with just outlining what we want learners to get out of this course at each stage of the course. Not like in a very detailed manner, but just more we want them to be able to do this and do that and use these tools in this to accomplish this goal. And then after that, we start figuring out what assets we'll need. Like, will we need diagrams or animations, or collaborate with teams on that. In this first part of creating a course, it's very important to talk to engineers that work out there in the field, to engineers that created this, server engineers or cloud engineers, whatever technology we're talking about, and to really see like why a certain feature was created, what problems does it solve, what problems are users facing. We have a fantastic research team at MongoDB that does a lot of user research, so tapping into them and being like, what have you found, like why is the adoption of this low, why do we have all these cool features, why are they not being used? If we teach people how to use them, will they do it? Like, what are some of the problems? So putting it all together and trying to build a story out of it in like an actionable way, that people learn to do this and that and that, and that like brings them to a final happy place where they feel like they can actually take this knowledge and go make something out of it. And then just sequentially write every lesson one after another, create all the illustrations for everything that you're trying to say. We have excellent training internally on the learning science. We have a curriculum designer that makes sure that there are no we're not skipping any steps and helping learners really get a full grasp of what's going on, or like assisting them in learning. And yeah, then record all the videos, review all the videos, publish the course, make sure. So there's an element of there's always an element of coding involved. If I'm teaching how to build an application, I build the application first. If I'm teaching how to use a certain tool, I better use it, through and through. Lots of bug reports along the way. Lots of like, is this how it's supposed to work? Because and in the end, I think everybody wins. The bugs get resolved, the content gets out there, people start using the tools that we have that they didn't know about before, and they get excited about it. So
Totally. And I love that because I remember when taking any of the university courses, every single page, there's always a little place for feedback, which is super helpful. And the fact that it's on every page is extremely important because I know there were a couple places where I think there was like a lab and there may have been a bug in one of them. And that can be super frustrating for a learner, right? Where you're like, no, I know I followed the steps, and for whatever reason, it's not accepting my answer, or it's just a little bit off, but it really should take it. Those are the kinds of things that I think frustrate a learner, make them, stop, maybe not encourage them to continue because they're like, well, if this one is wrong, or if it's even worse, if you lose your place or you lose your work, those kinds of things really matter in terms of when somebody's learning, at least online. So that's always awesome, and it's great to know that you do take that seriously and you do incorporate that feedback and try to fix any of those things as quickly as possible.
yeah, we have multiple teams working on that. Actually, we have like
Yeah.
a forum, we have the platform team,
Yeah.
we have a curriculum services engineers. We're always trying to get this feedback like aggregated. We started doing beta testing of courses before releasing them to the public to catch as many of these as possible. It's just a continuous workflow improvement and just like improvement of content. So want to keep people happy and enjoying their learning experience.
Sweet. So we actually have a really great question from jfudo422. And they ask, did your background in performance help you in your curriculum engineering responsibilities?
Uh, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm comfortable with the camera.
Yeah, that's a big part, especially if you're recording. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think my background in teaching really helped because honestly, teaching gives you so much more performance practice than performance because you are performing, 6 hours a day without a break, or maybe like 8 hours a day without a break in front of hundreds of people, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be high energy. You have to be like there for them and like really pay attention to everything at the same time. And that really uh, does it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
bet.
after you get comfortable with that, nothing else really like scares you ever again, or makes you feel like, oh, I can't do this. If I could do public school teaching in New York City, like I can do literally anything else. Like I have no doubt in the possibilities that I can like reach into.
I don't doubt that. I bet that's like the true testing grounds for if you're gonna make it or not.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I failed. I quit. So I couldn't. I could only last like 4 years.
That's still plenty of
Uh,
experience.
yeah. Well, enough for this. Yeah.
So, as you talk about creating the curriculum as a here at MongoDB as a curriculum engineer, I guess can you talk more about specific projects that you work on? When I say that, obviously there are the courses that you do, but I guess how do you choose the new ones that you work on, or how do you prioritize? This one is outdated. This needs to do it. This needs to be done first, or oh, we have a bunch of new features coming out in MongoDB. This one needs to be done first. So I guess how do you prioritize those? And then if they don't fall under those like typical projects that you would think of, what other kinds of projects do you work on
Mhm.
as a curriculum engineer?
Those are great questions. I wish I had answers to all of them. Let's see how many I can answer. Well, first I think is the okay. So my primary responsibility is creating those online courses. Other things that I do are, you know, I do talks at our conferences. That's just because I think it's fun. Um, then I do internal technical training and content for that. Our team is also responsible for MongoDB certification, curating that content, and ensuring that that's up to date and all of that. So there's really a lot of things that we do as a team. And with that being said, how do courses get decided on? Well, a lot of the things, they're just if we want people to know them and we certify them on that, then we should provide content to learn that. So if we have a certification for a database administrator, we should have all the content that a database administrator needs to know to do their job, like performance, setup, security, just basic querying, things like that. And if sorry, my
It's
cat
okay.
again.
I was like waiting for your cat to
Yeah, yeah,
come
yeah.
by.
She almost got up here and then she got distracted. Um, yeah. So there is that. And then obviously there's all the features and things that, we have you know, mobile, a wonderful mobile development framework. We should teach about it. So we just need to make sure that we have enough, curriculum engineers to get that content out there. Yeah, it depends on the bandwidth, the datedness of the course, and we like I said, we really look at the forum activity and what people are asking. Like right now in the comments, we have yarn, add mongoose. Right, we
Mm-hmm.
have a course on the JavaScript driver for MongoDB, but I think hope we'll update it. We know there's a lot of demand for mongoose. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know. I'm not the decider of all of that. We bring all of this data, the curriculum services engineers and like our marketing team and everybody, they bring all that data to the leadership, and then they know how many of us there is. I'm not alone. We have like 5 other amazing curriculum engineers on the team, and then they decide what we can and cannot do in a given amount of time. And thankfully, our like users are very communicative, and they're like, hey guys, can you do this? Can you do that? Or we want this content, we want that content. So we gather all that information and propose things.
Sweet. And when you do create these projects, obviously a lot of them, like you said, your primary content that you create are those courses. So, by the way, these are all free. If you want to learn, check them out at university.mongodb.com. You primarily create like video tutorials, right? Very full, thorough, in-depth video tutorials. Are there other things like have you, as your team creates more of these courses and content, have you decided, we want to try something new? Or have you talked about doing it in a different way, maybe teaching in a different way, maybe just doing something different, even though it's still a video course? Like, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, we always talk about that, right?
Yeah.
There's always ways to improve and make things better and just teach things better. Some content is just not good for a video lecture, like,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the idea is figure out what's the best medium for the content. Can we support this medium? Do we need to, let the platform team know that they need to build a whole new feature for us to support this medium that we want them to use?
Mm-hmm.
And then go with it. So we're adding different types of learning activities to our platform right now because, we realize that videos, to me, videos are not enough, right? You want to have as much hands-on, analytical, and just like tactile almost experience with the stuff that you're learning so that you in your heart that you are understanding it because you have moved the pieces around and really tried and maybe failed and maybe succeeded and you really got to the bottom of it. So we're adding that type of activities right now very actively because we really recognize that as a team that's something that's very, very important. Videos are just like a nice little, to me, I think videos are great, but they have to be short and snappy and just be like, here's the stuff, now try to do something with it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, it seems like we have one course out following this model right now, and hopefully more courses will be coming out following this more hands-on approach. So I'm pretty excited. I think learners are liking it. If you're out there and you took that course and you learned stuff, and if you didn't learn stuff, if you have like advice, please tell me. I always want to make things better for the learners.
Absolutely. I think the more that you see that it's backed by the data as well, right? That the engagement is higher with these lower or shorter video formats, the more that they'll get to do. So please be vocal about your feedback. We have another really good question that actually I'm not sure. I think we are, but it's from Gigit. Hopefully that was correct. Hello, are there going to be professional level certifications soon, more advanced than associate? Thanks from France. Do you happen to know that?
I do not have a timeline for that. I know that we're actively working on revamping our certification to address this and similar requests. I just don't have a timeline for that at the moment. But this is top of mind for our higher level execs and management. I'm not privy to that discussion in details, but yes, that's definitely a discussion that's happening.
Sweet. Yeah. So, for anyone that does not know, we do offer two so far. That's the developer certification and the DBA certification, both currently associate level. But we've been hearing this over and over that we want to provide higher level certifications for MongoDB, and it's definitely something I hear often. But similarly, I don't know the timeline for that, but we know that it's something that the people want. So keep being vocal about it. Make them out sooner.
Yeah, it's data points right there. We need those data points.
Exactly. All right, let's take a quick little break here. What is your favorite food?
I was afraid of that question. Um,
Really, this is the question you're afraid of?
yeah, that's the question I was worried about. Well, as I mentioned, I'm from Russia, and I don't want to say anything bad about Russian cuisine, but it's relatively bland compared to all of the stuff that exists in New York City, where I'm
Okay,
at, in
that's
terms
fair.
of the variety of
What
flavors.
about what about Russian pelmeni?
Oh my God, the best ones next to the office. Okay, I got so many people hooked on this. You're so right. Okay, so yeah, we have this. Okay, all right. Russian dumplings can be really good, but in all honesty, like there's so many amazing dumplings from various parts of Asia that can easily compete that I can't, like according to my family, I don't have a sophisticated enough food taste to have a favorite food. That's why I was afraid of this question. I love sour cream
Sour
and
cream's
everything
delicious
with
with
sour
pelmeni.
cream. But yeah, that's
I absolutely love any kind of dumplings. I just had some Polish pierogies yesterday and it was amazing. But dumplings are
yes, I
always
love
like a
those too.
comfort food. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
Anytime I visit somewhere, I'm like, give me what your version of dumplings are.
I agree 100%. It's the best thing.
All right. And then this is more for my edification because I'm a dessert freak. So do you have a favorite dessert?
Okay. Um, I actually don't like sugary things,
Oh
so
no.
I
All right. We're
usually
ending this stream.
I last time at the office somebody asked me and I was like, I really like raisins, and people were like, "What?"
What?
Exactly. Okay, no. So yeah, I like chocolate.
Okay.
Um
What kind of chocolate?
chocolate covered raisins.
Oh
Milk
no,
chocolate
Yulia.
covered raisins. I'm sorry, I know this is why these are the questions I was like really anxious about. I'm like, oh no, not the food.
What about have you ever had the Magnolia Bakery
It's
banana
too sweet
pudding?
for me and I hate
Really?
bananas.
Oh, okay. Double whammy.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Everyone to each their own, you know?
My husband loves sweet stuff. I just bring it home to him. He
Okay.
eats all. What?
Yes. Yes, I know. All right. Well, we'll get back to those questions since those seem to be the more
Th-
controversial ones
Those are,
here.
yeah, those are challenging.
So for everyone that has been listening so far, and anyone who is watching this, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know that curriculum engineering was a thing," but now that they do, I guess what skills do you need to become a successful curriculum engineer? I guess from your experience.
Okay, let me just gather myself after I'm being
Yes,
accused of
whisk
not being.
away, whisk away the raisin
Oh,
comments.
raisin and bananas and stuff. Wait
Rebecca
until
says you
what?
gotta lie about this stuff.
No, wait until we find out. I also hate peanuts and peanut butter.
Oh
I'm not
gosh,
allergic. I just
cut,
really don't like.
cut this.
Okay. But pickled tomatoes any day. Okay, done. Uh, so, skills do you need to become a curriculum engineer? Oh, I think, being interested in learning technology and just always having an open mind about that is very important. Oftentimes when you're looking to be a curriculum engineer, people already expect you to have engineering experience. So that's just a thing to keep in mind. So just having interest is probably not enough in today's market, but hopefully in the future, like you have a CS degree and you want to do this instead of like straight up, back end development or something like that, then, something to consider. Another thing that's, I think, very important is having empathy for the learner. I think, like you said in the very beginning, like, we've all had those instructors in tech, especially in tech topics, where they're just on this other level and they really make sure that that you're just not on their level,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just gonna, do their best ish, but you're never gonna get to their level. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, that is not good. Don't have that. um, so it's a very non selfish kind of, I guess, not even non selfish. It's just that people will tell you where you suck all the time, and you have to be open to that. You will always have to be open to learning, changing, and just admitting where things work when they don't work, and really just being very, very open and liking to talk and communicate. If you're really good at writing and technical writing, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good curriculum engineer, because it's a broader role. Maybe you should go into join like a documentation team or something like that. We've definitely had a few people. I've seen excellent like writers that write great about technology, but when it comes to actually teaching to a group of people with diverse backgrounds in tech, like somebody went to a boot camp, some people just learned on their own, some people went to got a degree in computer science. They can't navigate that, because it's a situation where you have to be very flexible and empathetic and really see and not assume about people's background knowledge. So, right. And in curriculum engineering, it's the same thing. You really need to understand that, like, okay, if you're creating a course for a developer, there are different kinds of developers out there. What assumptions can you make? What assumptions you can't make? And have that empathy along the way. What helps me is that I feel like for any topic that I come to, I immediately figure, I don't know anything. Let me talk to all the experts. And then I learn it as I develop the content, and every step along the way, every possible hiccup that I have, I note and find a way to explain it so that I wouldn't have a hiccup learning it. And then, just sort of using my own learning process to teach. It's not ideal because everybody learns differently, but thankfully we have millions of reviews in the process, and altogether we figure it out, hopefully. But yeah, I don't know if that answers it. The question. Teaching, being comfortable with public speaking, relatively comfortable with public speaking, and being on camera, and development.
So we have a great question here from tsgopi, asking, can curriculum engineer progress to product ownership? I mean, possibly like a product owner for a certain department?
I mean, that kind of depends on the company and the team that you're in, right? I mean, at Mongo, there's so many opportunities. I don't see why not, If you have a supportive manager, you have a supportive team, there are processes in place to be like, I'm interested in doing this now. And you start taking over some product ownership responsibilities. And if that, works well and everybody's fine with it, then why not? If you have a different structure in your company that's not as like supportive and encouraging, then or it's just very sort of rigid and there's no lateral movement, then maybe no. At MongoDB, I want to say absolutely. If you express interest, you give it a shot, you get the support, and there you are. I think that's depends on where you're at.
That's the nice part about this, is that they really do open you up to move to where I think is a better fit for you, right? So
yeah.
I want to go back to something else that you mentioned while answering this question. So part of it is, you're constantly learning, right? You always have to be aware of what you don't know, be accepting of the fact that you will get feedback of where you are weak in teaching some spots or some pieces of information or curriculum. How do you specifically deal with constantly learning new things? Like, what are your strategies for keeping on top of everything that you need to learn? Because there's not only the things that you may need to improve on if you got that feedback, but also all the new things that you have to keep up with. So what are your, I guess, strategies, or what do you do to help keep on top of everything that you have to learn?
Well, I'm really good at forgetting. So if I'm done with a course, this is it. I don't know it anymore. Not really. I'm not really good at forgetting like song lyrics that I learned 10 years ago for some reason, or like a bad plot line in a bad movie. I can remember that.
Yes.
But in terms of like tech, I think if you don't practice continuously a certain tool or skill, then you lose it. So to me, if I haven't practiced it, then I essentially am learning it from scratch. Awesome, good times. The big thing in terms of like getting feedback and just constantly like learning is to still know your worth and know when the feedback is real and when the feedback is not actionable. So I've had a hard time learning how to discern, is this actionable feedback, or is this just somebody just likes to say stuff and like, what do I do with it? I don't know. But I certainly don't want to feel bad about it, even though it's like making me feel bad. So learning how to figure out like what's actionable feedback, what are the things that you can actively do, and what is just words that should just really pass by and not just hurt your overall state of being. So that's important, and everything else, like with tech, thankfully, it either works or it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's very actionable to me. So well, it doesn't work. Let me make it work. Yeah, and then figure it out. Does that kind of answer your question?
Absolutely. And I think Jamie here is agreeing that not actionable is definitely a diplomatic way to phrase it. There's just some stuff you just gotta ignore, and I think you also, through time and experience, learn that, right? And you're like, oh, okay, this is something I can actually take back and improve upon. And you can compare that to something that's just vindictive or, not nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it can be not vindictive. Like I got a very strange feedback once. Someone said that, the course that just came out, MongoDB Basics. That's mostly my course. I mean, obviously, it was a team effort. They're like, the course content is like really good, but something about it seems unprofessional. And I'm like, what? What is it that seems
yeah.
unprofessional? Can you be more specific? I don't know. What do I
Uh,
do with that? I don't know. I mean, people seem to like it and learn from it.
hmm. That
Yeah.
is a peculiar feedback. That is a great example of not actionable because
Yeah.
exactly what about it was unprofessional? We may never know.
We may never know. I mean, maybe that person's gonna like appear in the comments right now and just be like,
Maybe.
"That dress
You
you
were the
wore."
one.
Yeah,
That
it's the
I
way you
couldn't
smile.
I couldn't focus because you were so unprofessional. Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is a good segue, and you've touched on it as well. But how do you know if this specifically is a good career for you? So I know a lot of people, especially a lot of women in tech, people who identify as women, anyone who's underrepresented, they are probably considering a career in tech. And a lot of the times, there's always like just two possible careers. It's like you have to code, you have to be a developer, or you go into some sort of design work. Maybe it's a UX engineer, maybe it's a designer specifically, and that's it. So, seeing this particular career, seeing this new path that they could go into, if they're deciding this, what would you say to them to assure them that this would be a good career fit for you if you're considering an alternative career in tech?
Um, what would I say? I mean, find a good team. That's that's important. Um, I think really in all of tech generally, right? It's important to have a supportive team and supportive organization that you're a part of. Um, it's and that's one thing. And the other thing that I tell my former students a lot, I work with like college students a lot and just do like mentorship, whatever. And just to remind people that there's such a broad range of opportunities and possibilities in tech. It is insane.
Yeah.
Every single thing in the world has a website, right? Every single thing in the world at this point has like a database of some sort that it needs. You like fashion, go work in fashion. You can work in tech and fashion at the same time. Like,
Absolutely.
you need to know tech to own product stuff. You need to, if you like working with people like half the time and coding the other half of the time, there's so much you can do, developer advocacy, curriculum, documentation. It's not just design. There's product, ownership and things like that. There's a lot of things that are on the sort of in between kind of thing. Another role that I really like that we have at MongoDB, and I'm sure there are other companies that have them, solutions architects and consulting engineers. They work with people so much. They do training. They create. They work on real problems out there in the field, creating solutions, and also talking to people a lot and problem solving. They're not necessarily building software from scratch. I mean, they can if they want to, but they are very technologically equipped, and but also have all this other wide range of skills that if you feel like you want to keep developing them and keep using them, then go into it, and try. Just don't search software engineer every time you go in, and and if you do really have like ideas and you find yourself like looking at education a lot, or like figuring or learning stuff a lot and thinking, hey, I could do this better, or here's how this could be done, or I've always tutored my whole life. I didn't even think about it ever. It was like, oh, I've always, my friend needs some help here, or like somebody's struggling there, and like, oh, I can help them. I never like gave it a second thought, but now it's like obvious to me that education has been part of my life in one way or another, in a more like instructor capacity for a very long time. So like it works.
It was second nature to you, and it just took a little bit of time to find out, hey, this is something I can do for a living.
Yeah, and it's so confusing too, because people want you to know what you want to do like early in life, very early in life, honestly.
Yeah.
And I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. It's just anything is a possibility at any given point. I'm really enjoying this right now, but if I suddenly find a niche topic that I'm so passionate about, that I just am willing to just tell everything to go away and focus on this one thing, I'll do that. I just haven't had that yet. Some people are lucky enough to have that.
Absolutely. That's something I also like to remind a lot of younger students, that it's okay if you don't know yet, right? There are so many experiences that you need to have, things that you need to do before you can even get to a point of understanding this is what I want to do. Jamie makes a great point. Community, DevRel, education, these are all really great areas to combine people and technical skills and knowledge. So if you have all of those, you don't have to necessarily assume if it's a career in tech, that's it. Like you're away from people, you don't have to do anything anymore. It's you and your computer, and that's definitely not the case. There are so many more positions that are opening up that are more specific in the industry and specific to the company, that it just takes a little bit of research, but there are so many things that you can do that's aside from just purely coding or purely designing, or anything else that you may have thought was only existing.
Can I also add a little bit with that? I
Please.
think a lot of people also think that they have to have like a degree in computer science or math or something like that. And we, at least in the education team at Mongo, we have people who don't have a college degree, or have a degree in English or in biology, which I guess is a little more technical, but still, it's your past life doesn't matter as much as your current passion, what you do, what you learn, how you go about like figuring out what is it that you like and what is it that you do. Again, like I think our security team is incredible in just saying, hey, if you're passionate about security, like really want to learn and do stuff, like we'll teach you. We want to, we have a incredible like educational resources within the company where we are all learning about security all the time. And people that never thought that they would be into security or do security, that don't have a computer science degree, are suddenly advocates, specialists, and just like really knowledgeable security people, because that's what you can do, because none of this is none of this is rocket science, and even rocket science is completely possible and doable. All you got to do is like figure out what's the best way for you to learn and focus it up a little bit.
I like that that's becoming more of the norm where it's less of a gatekeeping type of criteria and more focused on what is it that you really enjoy? What is it that you want to learn? Because that's so much more valuable than, some pieces of criteria that says you may be an expert in this or you had that education. Right now, I think at least a lot more companies are finding that real true drive to really learn more about something is way more important than a lot of things that used to be the criteria for careers in tech, at least. Even I don't have a CS degree. I have something close. It's called a management information systems degree. So they call it the half CS, half business degree. But I thought that was more logical because I'm like, I don't want to go full, engineering degree. I thought I would learn more applicable things like finance and accounting, all of which I don't remember anymore.
Oh yeah, me neither. I have a degree in finance, and I do not remember anything about it other than I don't like finance. And then I have a degree in math, and it was completely not applied math. It's like abstract math.
Oh,
Has
wow.
nothing, you know.
Uh-huh.
But it was fun, so I definitely didn't go to college to like become a professional in a specific field.
Yeah.
I had fun. And I think that's
There.
what college is for. Fun and study abroad, you know?
Yes. And there's certainly people who do well in that as well. And props to them too for staying in academia. That's a
Yeah, that's
whole
true.
nother thing.
But I think that's like when you really know what you're into. It's
I
really
think so
hard to
too.
stay in academia if you like want to get a piece of everything.
Yeah.
Um, but if you really know what you're into, like I have a friend who's been an artist since he was 12. I'm like, well, that's good for you. I did like how? How did you know? You know, it's just so
Uh-huh.
hard to figure that out for some of us, but for others, it's right there. Like they know, and that's awesome. I'm kind of jealous.
Me too. I still don't know what evokes that kind of passion for me yet. It's a little bit of
Hmm.
this, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Nothing that clear. Um, Speaking of which, the only thing that comes to mind when I do think of that is video games. So we'll take a little another small break here. Do you play any video games? Not a gamer.
So I used to play a lot in school. Again, that probably contributed to me not being like a perfect student. Uh, but yeah, then when teaching, I sort of lost every hobby that I've ever had because all of my time, energy, and like life, all of my life went into teaching. So I actually recently started to rediscover anything that is of me and for me and to me. Um, there's just so many things that I like to do. So I have a PlayStation. I hate certain games with a passion,
Uh
and
oh.
my husband absolutely loves them. It's the ones where you have to like build and gather resources and manage whole systems and cities
Oh
and things like
no.
that. I know it's just like I was afraid of this question too. That was like my second. The food questions are the most like scary ones, and then the second scary one is the video game.
So
Everything else.
like, did you hate Age of Empires then?
Oh,
Do you know that?
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh no.
You know what I like though? I like first person shooters. You can sign me
Okay.
up for like Quake, Doom, Counter
Yep.
Strike,
Yep.
whatever. I can do that all day.
Did you play the Borderlands series at all by
I
chance?
did. So I'm actually like stuck in a different decade. They're very scary for me right now. So I'm working my way up to them. I'm in like Doom 2 right now. And I'm just trying to get used to like the change that happened in video games since I have taken a break for like college and being a teacher. And it's a learning curve. But yeah,
I like first person shooters too. My favorite series is Borderlands, and I
yeah.
would totally play Doom, but I'm too much of a wimp. Like the levels scare me. I don't like the level design there.
Oh yeah, no, they're a bit scary. But I yeah, you know what? I have played Borderlands though. They are they're very similar in terms of like their stuff jumps out at you and you kill it, and that's what I enjoy, really.
Yeah,
That's all I
yeah.
care about.
I need to go back into them too. I bet I need that's more of a de-stressing game for me than some of the other things that I'm playing.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
definitely like a stress. Yeah, when
Yeah.
I'm very upset, I can go play. I can go shoot some things, and it makes me very happy. Or embroidery. I can also do that here. I just learned
Okay.
how to crochet in this in
Oh,
this,
that's awesome.
in this lockdown.
You're going to be getting some orders now. Maybe that's a secondary piece of income that you can do.
I do not have time for that. I have a cat. She needs to be played with. That's another video game that I play. Uh, more of a real game, not a really video game. But
Do
yeah,
you happen to play like League of Legends? There's a user asking. I do
I
not
haven't.
play.
I do not play. No,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard. I mean, I've seen it. I
I've
haven't.
seen it too.
Yeah.
Same. StarCraft, Dota, all of them. But
I
I'm like,
think that's what actually drew me away from a computer science class in high school because a lot of yeah, no, they were playing Warcraft, different, but you know, it was just like I walked into a classroom and there's a bunch of boys. I was the only girl. There's a bunch of boys playing this game that I really didn't like. Talking about zergs and humans and stuff,
oh,
and
StarCraft.
yeah,
StarCraft.
StarCraft. And I was just like, I'm just not gonna take this class right now.
I remember in my college, the library, we had 5 levels, and it was super annoying because anytime we needed to go, this is like was a common thing for our university. There are computers that you can use on every level, and the 5th level, the highest level, was always taken. It was just a whole every computer was taken by a group. Then they were all playing League of Legends all
Yep.
the time. And we're like, can you guys get out of here? You're totally like not abiding by the policy here. But it was just annoying because, especially on busy days when it was like exams or people needed to study, there were no computers available because they would take it to have their little parties. It
Yeah.
was super annoying. Jamie's like, pretty sure my degree is actually in WoW. I remember playing WoW with my husband. That was we needed to stop because our lives were withering away. That can get super addicting.
Yeah.
Okay, enough with that. Do you have a favorite city?
Oh, I was actually excited about this question. Okay. I do. And I'm really sorry this is also going to be controversial, but this one I don't really care that it's controversial. Okay.
It's all right.
Yeah, my hometown, I love it. It's St. Petersburg, Russia. I think it's amazing and incredible and beautiful. And it just has so many awesome things about it. It's like the museums, the concert halls, the culture there, the events that people put on, really everything. They have like science bar hopping, like that was invented in I think it was invented there. I think it's the best thing. So yeah,
Com-
St. Petersburg, Russia.
Completely understandable. I don't think that ever goes away from us, right? Our
I
hometowns.
was run no, I ran away from it on purpose. I
Oh,
was
okay.
like, I don't want to be here anymore. And now that I live in New York, I'm like, St.
Uh,
Petersburg, Russia, best place
maybe
ever.
just a little bit. True,
Yeah.
true. Excuse me. Okay, so let's get back to let's see what else do we have here. So going back to the curriculum engineering in general, I guess we've talked about what it is and what skills, at least from your perspective, you need to be good at it. Are there any other things you would do to, I guess, prepare for this career? So maybe if you don't have any tutoring experience, would you encourage people to teach a friend something or teach their little brother or sister something? Like, would you uh, what kind of advice would you give to aspiring curriculum engineers to prepare for that kind of career, I guess?
Um, that's a great question. I mean, we have so many resources online right now where you can just like post content. So there's so many things that people are looking to learn online that are just um, not explained that well and not explained on the right level. I'd say, pick an audience type. Pick a let's say you want to teach 12-year-olds how to code. there's so many platforms out there. There's so much stuff that you can do there. So just pick a platform, pick a group, and try creating some content. See if you like it. See if you actually enjoy the process, and then see how that content gets received. I personally, like, as of late, really love the 1 minute TikTok explanations. They are so good, like science experiments or some fun facts in history. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, this would be so amazing for somebody to do, for like, what is a variable? Like, how does memory work on a computer? Things like that. There's also incredible resources to really get kids engaged. I was just browsing the Roblox library of games,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, where's the game that teaches them how to code? There's the Roblox itself that
Yeah.
you can create and learn, but that there's also a barrier there to sort of really jump in. So there's so many gaps and opportunities to fill those gaps with content. And if you have ideas about it, there's so many places where you can just put it out for free and see how it gets received. Just try it out. And there's also a ton of resources out there in terms of like learning science, what works, what doesn't work. If that's something that you find yourself doing a lot, then put it to practice. Yeah, just put out some content, see what's going on. Um, yeah, I mean, for me, it's hard because I came from, I guess, a more traditional trajectory where I first taught, and I really did know that I enjoy it, and I'm not terrible at it. So I had a little bit of a, but going and teaching public school is probably not the fastest way to happiness and to becoming a curriculum engineer. There are other ways.
I think that's great advice. Just any platform really where you can practice teaching something, and what better way than to just put it out into the world, put it out on the internet, right? It's a great testing grounds for to see if the way that you explain things makes sense, and to see if there's also a good reception.
There
I'll
could
speak.
be a little bit, sorry, there could be like a little bit of anxiety, right, about just
Yeah,
putting your
yeah,
face out there.
of course.
So a ton of people, especially right now with the end of the world going on, are looking to find one-on-one tutors, or you can volunteer. As many organizations are just like, many people are just organizing to provide some sort of learning opportunities, and one-on-one learning opportunities or small group learning opportunities for students of different ages, adult learners, or any type of learners, uh, over the internet. And you can also try it out in this more like cozy setting of a video chat, um, safe, socially distant, cozy setting of a video chat.
Yes, yes.
Um, and see how that works. That is a very challenging, task to do. I tutor. I'll be tutoring in a few hours, a 12-year-old in computer science, and see if you can keep their attention. See if you can, if you can
Yep.
keep them engaged and excited. See if they want to come back. Sometimes they just don't want to. See if you're willing to take on that challenge every day and not get discouraged and just sort of down in the gutter, because that also happens. And how do you deal with that? So just see if it's right for you, and then you can bring that wealth of experience that you've gathered while figuring out if it's right for you to a job application, to see this is what I did, this is what I tried, this is what I learned. Hire me.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point that you bring up the different types of teaching environments, because, with everything that's happening now, you almost assume, right? Like the only way I can teach is to, I don't know, like this, like go on Twitch and show how to do something, or create a really involved YouTube tutorial. And sometimes that's not always what you have to do. You can start smaller and grow, go into those steps one by one if you say, oh, this is something that I enjoy and want to see, and stretch those skills out. And it's also a good way to practice the different kinds of teaching, because it's very different to teach like a single person and really have that one-on-one time, make sure they understand something, versus like what you said, teaching a whole classroom who may have different backgrounds, different understandings. They're starting at different points. Those are all things that you kind of learn. How do you teach to different kinds of audiences? Let me see. Oh, I thought I had a little question. Oh, Jamie just says, love your perspective on this, Yulia. What a great way to get started with this career path.
uh, Thanks.
um, I had one other question, and I completely forgot it. I should have written it down.
It's
That
okay. While
was,
you're thinking about it, I just remembered another learning resource that I found when I was
oh, yes,
teaching.
please, please.
Um, you can also just create a website and experiment that way. I saw a fantastic website that had like exercises, a built-in area for you to actually try things out, and video lectures, and they were in a sequence. So the person basically built out a course, put it out there for free, and it's a playground for people to learn. And the you know I could see, like, as an educator coming there, I'd be like, well, the videos could be more engaging, but all of these exercises and the sequence of like topics is amazing, and there are all of these things are like, if I was hiring this person, I would be like, listen, I'd love to hire you. Have all these great ideas here. Here's what we need to work on. Like, da 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 da. So it's already like, um, you already have like a little bit of a portfolio, even.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And again, it's not necessary. Like, you don't have to have a portfolio, I don't think, but having a real understanding of like what your teaching style is, what do you care about, like how do you create content from experience of creating content. That's what's important, I think.
Absolutely. I think that's what a lot of people mistake for why they need a portfolio, but it answers those exact questions. So it's not the fact that you either have it or you don't. It just helps people who are possibly employing you to know more about you and see if you would be a good fit for what they're looking for, especially with everything that you just said with teaching style. How do you deal with different kinds of learners? What are you passionate about? What are your specializations in what you teach? Those kinds of things. And usually having a portfolio helps answer those questions and makes that case for you. I guess the other question I had is, this is something I get often as well, at least on the DevRel side or anyone really in tech. And that's, we always hear, write about what you're learning or write like beginner tutorials for others. And a lot of people get discouraged because they're like, well, there's 1,000 articles or video tutorials that already talk about this subject. And what I like to tell them is, well, no one's going to say it the way you say it. So it's absolutely still valid for you to write it in your way. And if that were truly the case, that everything has already been done, then we wouldn't be having these conversations where it's like, oh my gosh, this person could not teach for the life of them, or they didn't really explain this concept in a way that I understand. And so as long as that is still happening, that people are not getting certain things, there's absolutely room for people to continue teaching these things in a different way. Is there something similar like that with, I guess, your courses? Have there been things that you've seen that just didn't work initially, and you found a way to kind of revamp that or teach it in a better way? Like, is there a particular concept in the courses for MongoDB that you or your team were working on and found either through feedback or just when you were delivering it was like, this is not really working, let's try to do something else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak poorly of our older courses,
Yeah, yeah.
but we've definitely revamped our internal training multiple times, and we're revamping it again. It lasted 5 days and 5 full days in the office. There was now we're doing it 2 days and digitally, and it's 2 full days. And what other things can we do to sort of make this onboarding and technical training for engineers just useful, and not just here sit through the full day of lectures, but just be useful. So adding more hands-on activity. We always collect feedback, and some things I see right away, but others, you need to hear some feedback and be like, oh yeah, this is not relevant for people, this is more relevant and we don't cover it, or we didn't provide enough prerequisites, or we should create more hands-on activities and more labs. So that's or something is just unclear. You read a slide and it made sense to you, and then suddenly somebody else reads a slide and it just doesn't make sense to them. And my rule of thumb is always explain it to a fifth grader, sort of thing.
Yeah.
If a fifth grader can't understand it, then you're doing something wrong. So try to use simple language. So if I see like too much jargon or that wasn't previously discussed or something like that, we always try to fix it, try to make it better. I used that when I was teaching high school too. Back to what you just said about, everything has already been explained. Like, why do I need to say it in my own words? I made my students, explain every new concept in English, in plain English, as if I'm a 5-year-old to me, or else I don't believe that they understand it, and trying to put things into words really helps to understand stuff. So applying that to discussion, content making, and all of that, and catching when somebody else catches when you're not doing it, like that's when you got to fix it. A little bit roundabout answer to your question, no specifics, but it's the best I can do.
That's a good goal to have. That's good to keep for any content really that you're creating, especially as a teacher, as an instructor. Is the simpler that you can make it, the more likely someone is going to be able to understand it. Adding that engagement is just a plus, I think.
Yeah.
Sweet. So I think we can go down to the last few. Hopefully these are not as anxiety inducing for you as the food ones, as they all were for all of us. But,
yeah, no, I'm sorry. I knew it was going to be like that.
So we have, what is your favorite music for focusing on work, if you have any?
I'm so sorry. Okay. So
it's going to be another controversial answer, folks.
Yeah. So it depends on what I'm doing. If I have to write words that make sense, it should be music without words,
Yes.
without lyrics.
I agree with that.
So yeah, that's a big one. And let's see. I just kind of I don't have like a genre that I'm like listen to all the time. I don't
artist?
know. Not even. I don't know if you could see. There's like guitar cases behind me and
Yes.
violin cases. I have. Yeah, the music that I listen to is literally it's all over the map. It just has to be dynamic and changing in the genre or anything, because dynamic changes like make me happy, and I often try to like dance while I'm working. So this is actually I'm at a standing desk. I have like this very tall chair. So I'm often when I'm working, and when I was in the office, it was like this. So yeah, as long as it's just like I have Vivaldi Four Seasons followed by like a dubstep, followed by like Tyler the Creator, followed by it's just the ink spots. It's all over the place.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. I agree with that. It depends on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
What is for you the best part about working at MongoDB?
Oh, I feel like I covered that in almost every answer. I'm like, I have a supportive team. I have so many things that I can be doing. I love that I work with that's a common one though. This is like super, super classic. And I'm sorry I'm going to repeat it, but I love working with smart people that are not smart in a condescending way, but sort of are all excited about stuff and helping each other out and all of that. And, yeah, the fact that I can like Slack somebody who's all the way up the food chain, from me, and just be like, hey, I'm working on this, you got any thoughts about it? Or could you like help me find people who can help or whatever? And people just be there and be helpful. And yeah, I love that. I don't feel like there are certain people that are like off limits for communication. And I think that's very important. And I feel that I can, I don't have to be, like, I'm not judged when I'm direct. Because I'm not trying to, I think there's an understanding that nobody's trying to offend anybody. We're all just trying to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that as well. And as a person coming from a different culture and background, especially Russia, there's all these like stereotypes about why are Russians rude or whatever. I'm like, I'm not rude. I have questions and I am asking answers that I don't know. It took me a long time to learn how to be like American nice, and you know, smile and say
Yeah.
apologize a million times for asking a question and things like that. And I feel like I don't have to do that as much anymore. The communication is direct and polite, and it's open across various levels of like this corporate hierarchy, which it's pretty cool, I think.
Nice. Seems you got a fan here. Somebody from your MongoDB Basics course says, "Woo, it's Yulia from MongoDB Basics course."
Yeah, that's me. Thanks for taking the
and,
course.
and to end this on a good note, final note here, what is your favorite MongoDB memory so far?
Okay, so this is silly, and I
Those are the
thought about
best
this a lot.
kinds. Best kinds.
um, yeah, I thought about this a lot because, right, MongoDB used to have these offsites before the end of the world, and I've one of them. So the one offsite that we went to had like a indoor water park, and I've never been to a water park before.
Okay.
So I actually got to like be in a water park. It was so cool. I just like really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite part of working at memory, like my favorite MongoDB memory is being in a water park. um,
Was there anything about the indoor water park that surprised you since this is the first time you've been at one?
I've just never been on like those slides before or
Yeah.
like any of that, and it was so fun. Just like sliding in the slides with the
Yeah.
water. It was great. I've
I'm sh-
never experienced that before.
I'm sure you went on every single slide.
No.
No?
No, one
Oh.
of the ones that are like straight up vertical.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't
That
get
one's
myself
too
to do that.
scary.
But the
Yeah.
ones where you feel like you're gonna fly out into the sky, like that I did. Um,
Where you're in a like a tube or a
yeah,
raft.
like that thingy with like 5 other people so that you don't actually fly out. They have to like weigh you. Um,
Yes.
yeah, that was
Make sure.
yeah. The physics it works out. But yeah, it was it's not like professionally related, but I
Hey,
wouldn't have gone to a water park otherwise. I can tell you that. I feel like
it doesn't have to be. That's
yeah.
an awesome memory. Seems we have another you have a fan base here, Yulia.
Ooh.
Oh, Carl Champagne. He
Hi.
says hello. And with that, I think we are good to close out. Thank you so much, Julia. This was super fun. I absolutely loved hearing your story, what advice you have, what for aspiring curriculum engineers, what you do as a curriculum engineer at MongoDB. Hopefully, this inspires you to check out not just curriculum engineering, but alternative paths as a career in tech. Any last words that you have, Julia?
I mean, thanks for having me. This was super fun. It's my first time on Twitch. I'm like, feel like I've been behind this whole time. Yeah, I found Roblox, 2 weeks ago, and now Twitch and TikTok has been. I feel like I'm just like learning all this technology that the kids these days. But yeah, no, it's been super awesome. I'm really really loving it. And hey, Carl.
This certainly won't be the last time. I can already tell that you'll be on the Twitch channel. But if you want to see more of what Yulia does, please head over to university.mongodb.com. All of those courses are there. You might even see her in some of them. And they are all completely free. I think the only thing that is paid are the certifications, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I'm working on a new course on the aggregation framework right now. So
Ooh.
stay tuned in end of January. That's the hope. That's the
Uh-huh.
hope. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But
That's the hope.
the hope is by end of January, you'll get content on how to be a super pro at really really querying the database. Using aggregation. It's gonna be awesome.
Sweet. I think we're all looking forward to that. And I think another cool thing too that just recently launched is if you've ever taken any of these courses or certifications, you can actually now share that accomplishment to
Yeah.
Twitter to LinkedIn and Facebook, I think. And then if you have a certification or you earn a certification, you can now share that directly to your LinkedIn. So you can add it as a cert. So definitely, if you've taken any courses before, you should see that proof of completion in any of your existing courses that you have passed. And then for any new ones, you can share that once you've completed them. So check that out as well at university.mongodb.com. Sweet. Anything else that I missed? Look for Yulia's new course, promised hopefully end of January on the aggregation framework. And that's it. We will see you again very soon, I hope, Yulia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
Thanks, and thank you all for joining us. Hopefully this was enlightening and fun for you. If you miss any part of this video will be available on our Twitch channel, so follow us here at twitch.tv/MongoDB, and it will also be on our YouTube, so check for that as well if you want to watch the whole thing from the start. All right, that's it. I will see you all later, and we'll see you next time on the Twitch channel. Bye, everybody.
Bye.